You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio. Listening to BQN. Assimilate.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to What's the T-Bev, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN. I'm your host, Christos Generis. I hope you all liked last week's extra long episode. Mr. Davey Willett, he can talk and so can I, so that makes for extra long special episodes. We had a lot of tea to spill on that Picard Season 3 trailer, and we might just have to talk about it just a little bit more today because it's just that epic. You heard Davey and me talking about Trekspert podcast quiz. That is going to be coming your way early this week, maybe by the time you actually are listening to this. I am taking on Kelvin, who you may remember from an earlier episode of What's the T-Bev. And I can also announce that our scorekeeper is going to be the BQN's own Miss Amy Nelson. So it will be a fun little BQN What's the T-Bev crossover. It's going to be epic. Remember, you can watch What's the T-Bev on our YouTube channel of the same name or listen wherever you get your BQN podcasts. Please hit like and the subscribe button here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a star rating and a written review. That helps others find the show. If you'd like to help us keep our shows coming to you each week, you can become a Patreon of the network on Patreon. Join the Hive to enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get the details and watch your messages. I'd like to introduce our guest today, a good friend of mine who actually I just met about a month or so ago at STLV, Mr. Justin Parker.
Hello.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How was that little transporter effect? It worked.
Oh, it was great. It was great. And please excuse my voice and of course I woke up this morning with like the worst sore throat in the world the day before I'm doing this. So I will be sipping on tea so just excuse me on that. But I'm doing great. Things are great.
Awesome. So listeners, I'm really excited to have Justin on because like I said a few moments ago, we met at STLV in August and we didn't know each other at all. We met at a party and come to find out Justin and his partner live right here in San Diego where I live. So it was kind of like, wow, there's another diehard Trekkie and we live in the same town and we're gay and how did we not know each other? So,
I know.
So always fun to meet new people. And I'm really excited for the aspect of, when we talk about the questions and the getting to know you phase, you're new to me. I don't have any idea what your favorites are. So it will really, truly be getting to know you. So Justin, why don't you tell me a little bit about your some of these images that are on the screen here, your little Trekdom and your other alter ego.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Justin. I'm really excited to be here because I am a huge Trekkie, and as you can see, I also do drag. I've been doing drag for like 25 years, and I really love the fact that I met you because it's like you said, I had no idea that there's like an underground kind of queer culture with like Star Trekkies, floating around there. So when I met you and we were talking, and we went to this great gay Trekkie party in Las Vegas, and it was really cool. I was really excited to get this opportunity because you don't meet a lot of I don't know. Maybe I just don't meet a lot of gay Trekkies that will. I don't know if they just won't admit it or what. But maybe also drag queens is also. You'd never really see a lot of drag queens that love Star Trek. Although I don't know if you know what Pandora Box. She is a huge sci-fi Trekkie nerd, and I absolutely love her very much. So I'm definitely gonna have to send this podcast to her because I think she'd get a huge kick out of it.
Well, that would be awesome. I love Pandora Box, and I
Yeah.
believe we actually met once or twice. I'm sure Pandora does not remember me, but
Oh, you'd
yes,
be surprised.
love-
You'd be surprised. She's amazing.
well, send it to her, and if Pandora has any interest in being a guest on What's the Tea, Bev, you can extend that invitation on my behalf.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know, there are a couple of, Jackie Cox is a big Star Trek fan. In fact, she kind of got, it kind of helped. I think part of Jackie's popularity was being just kind of out there as a big Star Trek fan and doing Deanna Troi and drag and things like that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Still fun gays and space parties. Yeah, there's definitely this whole big, gay queer culture underground. I wouldn't say it's so underground anymore.
No, just for
loud
me.
and proud. But we're, gay Trekkies are a thing for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. For those of you watching, here we are at a gays and space party.
I'm so sorry. I'm so inappropriate right there. I had no idea.
That's quite all right. I was not complaining. That is a nice little Cristo sandwich going on right there. So
yes.
Look at me. I got my little wine glass. My little.
I know.
And that's like I got my reusable sippy cup for wine that I was using at that party.
I love it. I love it. And just so everybody knows, that's my boyfriend behind you in the blue scant. Living his dreams. That was actually his first Star Trek convention ever, and he never watched Star Trek until so we started dating, and he is all about it now, about it. Like we started watching Voyager, and he was like, I love this, and we binged all of Voyager, and he's like total gung-ho for the new series, and he loves Lower Decks, and I've created a new one.
Well, you were doing good work there, because that's
yes.
And I couldn't help but not share my picture with Ethan Peck, just like yours. Yes. He's quite the hottie and very friendly.
Oh my God, he's so nice. He was like, oh my God, when he saw us, and he like walked up to us and gave us both big hugs, and he's like, oh my God, I love you guys. And we sat and talked to him for a second, but he was like, unlike other people that were doing autographs and stuff at the convention, which is fine. However you want to do it, it's totally fine. But most people were like back behind glass walls and like not like touching a lot. But he was like getting up out of his chair and hugging, and he was really into it. He loved it.
Yeah. So okay, we're back, listeners. You probably didn't even notice we were gone because I will have edited out the pause, but you may have noticed there was a little bit of static going on there, so we took a little quick pause and we got down to the bottom of it. And
sorry, those were my crappy earbuds, so I apologize.
No. We figured it was better to stop and figure it out than to subject you guys to a lot of static throughout the podcast. So
definitely.
So let's actually jump into, I feel like it's the best part of the podcast, which is the getting to know you aspect of it. So, Mr. Justin, what was your first contact with Star Trek?
My first contact with Star Trek. I guess growing up, I have always been a big sci-fi buff, a big sci-fi nerd, even when I was little. So when it was definitely with TNG, of course, because that's when I was young. I'm 44, so I don't even know how old that makes me when I came out. So when that came on, but I would watch a lot of 9. Oh my god!
Because I was 10 and I'm 45.
Oh, yeah. So I was watching a lot of sci-fi shows, and when that came on, I don't think that I watched it like the first episode, like as soon as it came on, I'm pretty sure that like it was like episode 2, maybe episode 3 is when I finally saw it on TV, and I was just hooked.
In
You
it to
know?
win it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because when you're young like that, I don't know. I grew up very conservative, in the church and all those kind of things. So having an outlet with like science fiction and a lot of cartoons and stuff like that, I feel like when you know that you're different, especially in some place like the church, you know that you're different. So you're watching these things as kind of like an escape or kind of whatever the reason is that you're watching them. And I feel like when I started watching TNG, it like really hit a lot of buttons for me and really opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff. Uh, even being that young back then.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing. It never gets old, but I can't get over how many guys I talk to, gay guys, that are our age and have very, very, very similar stories about how it spoke to them, and there's definitely something to it because there's so many people I've talked to who we all grew up thousands of miles from each other, but watching the same show, kind of having a very similar experience. That I
Yeah.
think is very powerful.
And I mean, in the first couple episodes, you see men walking around in skants, and you're like, "Oh my god, that guy's wearing a skirt! Oh my god, that guy's wearing a dress! That guy's wearing a dress!" You
That's
know?
awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I love my scan.
Me too.
Okay, all right. Kind of continuing on. What is your favorite Trek series? And I'm wondering if I know this already based on how you answered the first question, but let's go. Favorite Trek
Well,
series?
I actually have. I was thinking about this, and I'm not a whole. It's very hard. It's very difficult because, like, right off the bat, like, I'm gonna say Voyager. Like, first thing off my head is Voyager because I absolutely love, love, love Janeway, and I love Kate Mulgrew, and instantly connected with that show like as soon as it came out, and I was glued to it, and it was everything about it was amazing. But then I stop and I think, and I'm like, there was so many good moments and good things happening in TNG as well, and so many pioneering, life-changing things that were happening in that series. You're just like, wait, was it TNG? But now with the new series, Strange New Worlds, are opening up so many new things, and then you have the throwback to the, it's very nostalgic, and the look of it is so cool, and then you're like, wait, oh, and then you have like Lower Decks, which is epic, but and we'll talk about those later. But right off the bat, I think I'm gonna have to say Voyager for sure.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Voyager is your favorite Trek series. What is your favorite Trek episode?
So I was thinking about this, and with Voyager being my favorite series, I'd have to go back to TNG to be my favorite episode. And I could not think of the name of this earlier, so I had to like figure it out and find it. But it's Yesterday's Enterprise, and I love that episode because of, I mean, there's so many things to love about, but like the throwbacks and the different ways that you get to see these characters and the different takes on these characters that they give you. I just love it. Yeah. And the new Enterprise that's in it, and I just love it.
I mean, just being able to see the Enterprise C was pretty epic. But, I think back to like 12-year-old, 13-year-old Christos, that's probably about how old I was when that episode came out. And I'm like, I think as a little gay nerd, I mean, some of those concepts that we had to start wrapping our minds around with time travel and alternate universes and alternate timelines and alternate realities, like, and if you go back and something changes, how the future can change. I think those those types of episodes were very formative in who I was and who I became, because it really pushed me to think more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wrote a paper in sophomore honors English, and I got moved into honors English from 9th grade to 10th grade because I did so good in English in 9th grade. So in 10th grade, I was doing honors English, and I got into the class, and it was a few months in, and I wasn't doing very well. My grades were just so, and it wasn't hitting. And then I forget what the topic was, but I got to write. We had to write a paper, of course, and I wrote a paper about the episode Cause and Effect, which is also another time jumping alternate reality type of things change, and I wrote this paper, and I pretty much expected it to get me kicked out of the class at that point. But the teacher comes in and she's handing out papers, and it was back in the day where they would just actively tell the whole class what you got. There was no privacy. But she's like, and Christos got an A on his paper. And she literally asked the classroom, how many of you watch Star Trek? And half the class stuck their hands up because it was, an honors class. And I think that really said something about, she's like, well, you hit it, you got it perfect this week, Chris. And I don't know, it was just, I had no problems with the class after that. And it was really more of a taking a risk for me and writing about something that was important to me that I identified with. And it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
There, it was more of a matter of lesson number 1, be yourself,
Exactly.
So
little great.
What is your favorite movie? All 13 movies count, by the way, including the Kelvin timeline.
We don't talk about the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah. It's not aging well, I'll tell you that.
It's not. I would say Wrath of Khan.
Awesome.
Is my favorite, because with the movies, I love the TNG movies, but the nostalgia for me for the Star Trek movies is what gets me every time. And I can put on any of the original movies and just love every single moment of it. And it was actually a hard choice between Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country. And I know Undiscovered Country is so cheesy and nerdy, and I know, no.
It's my favorite.
I know, but it's one of my favorites too. And whenever I had this conversation with people more often than you'd think, but usually people don't say Undiscovered Country. And then when you're like, oh well, one of my top favorites is definitely Undiscovered. They're like, what? Isn't it the one about? That's the whale one, right? I'm like, yeah, but it was so amazing. It was so awesome. It was so cool. And of course,
that's Voyage Home, darling.
Oh, sorry. That's the one I was talking about. Voyage Home.
Sorry, that makes a little bit more sense, because Voyage Home is kind of that campy, fun romp.
Yeah, totally. And exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people do not get into that one, but it's fun and it's stupid and I love it. But Wrath of Khan is definitely my number 1.
Yeah, fans love the Voyage Home. I love the Voyage Home. Do you hold that to your opinion of all the TOS movies? Does that even apply to 5? Final Frontier, the William Shatner directed one that I literally don't watch.
I mean, no, it doesn't apply to that at all.
I was just curious. I've only met 1 or 2 people in my Trekdom that put that on a pedestal, and I'm like, oh, it's pretty bad.
And I wonder if they put it on a pedestal just because Shatner directed it or whatever, but it was just bad.
It is. It was amazing that we got a Star Trek 6 because that did so well. And I don't think if it hadn't been for the 25th anniversary and for the fact that TNG was really hitting, that we might have not got a Star Trek 6. But but thankfully we did, because that's my personal favorite. Right? I mean, it's literally right there with Wrath of Khan. But good movies.
Yeah. But I don't have a big boner for Shatner anyway.
Yeah.
So,
he's not my favorite character, and he's definitely not as an actor. He's not my favorite person for sure.
No.
Might be getting some hate mail, but on What's the Tea, Bev, we say what we
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
exactly. I'm sure there's not a lot of people out there that agree with my high esteem for Beverly Crusher. So,
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know. I think that's going to change in next season of Picard. I think it's going to change a lot of people's minds.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I just hope that it like helps break this freaking Sub Rosa stigma, because like whenever Beverly Crusher comes up with just a casual fan or with people who aren't big Beverly fans, that's like the first thing they go to, and it's like you're gonna hold a character, you're gonna judge a whole character by one episode that wasn't even the actress's fault. She's literally playing the lines that were written for her. So if you want to hate somebody, hate the writer, Brandon Braga. But like, and I can give you equally a dumpster fire episode for all other 6 main characters.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody had one.
Let's talk about that one where Troy starts aging and it's basically acting like Madonna acts like now, and Worf in his toxic masculinity. I can just start picking him for. But everyone loves to pick on Beverly for Sub Rosa, so I feel like we can go there. That might be a fun episode one day. Is to like let's research and have an episode on every other character Sub Rosa. We'll call it that.
I love that.
I might phone that into Galaxy Class to do that as an assignment. See if they want to take that on, because Galaxy Class, if you don't know, it's all about TNG.
Yeah.
So that might be a good topic. What is the worst episode for each character? Geordi and Leah Brahms. Creep.
That episode was tedious.
Yes. And already we are way off topic.
For sure.
I'm here for
yeah.
Well, sticking with characters, this is actually appropriate. And I think I know the answer to this and maybe the next question. Who is your favorite character?
I don't want to say Janeway, but I'm going to have to say Janeway.
Why not?
I know, because it's also a captain, which is fine. Right. But then,
who's your favorite non-captain? Okay, we'll back this up. Your favorite character is Janeway, who's also a captain. So who's your second favorite character? So there that way you can kind of have your cake and eat it too.
There's so many good things about different characters, but like, I don't want to say Picard.
But you like him.
Oh God, I love him. I love him because I also really like theater and I love musicals and I love drama. Patrick Stewart acts and he's just really feeling his like Shakespearean roots. Oh my God. It's just, it's so good. And it's just, you're just glued to his performance.
Yeah. He elevates things. He has a presence, sort of Patrick Stewart. And I think that's probably why you like Kate Mulgrew too. Because when Janeway starts talking, you listen. And if you listen to Kate Mulgrew, even just do a Star Trek panel by herself at Star Trek, she gets up there and her cadence and the way she speaks and her elegance, it's just so captivating. I've listened to both her books, I listened to them on audiobook because it's like, I remember one time she drove me home from Palm Springs, I tell her, because that's how I like to tell it, because I literally drove home from Palm Springs and I put on her audiobook and it was like Kate Mulgrew was sitting in the seat next to me telling me a story.
She reads her own audiobook?
Yes. Oh.
Shut up.
Oh. If you listeners too, if you are into Janeway, here's your homework. Get the audiobook for the biography of Catherine Janeway. Because the book came out first, and then like 6 months later, they got Kate Mulgrew into the studio to record the audio. So it's like Catherine Janeway reading her audio biography to you, and it's pure heaven. And
I'm on Audible right now. I'm like,
I love it. I love it. I love it. And if you also are a big fan of Kate Mulgrew, she did this play on Broadway right after Voyager called Tea at 5. It's a one-woman production where she plays Katharine Hepburn, and in one act, it's amazing. I love it. in the first act, she plays Katharine Hepburn right before when Katharine Hepburn was trying to get the role of Scarlet in Gone with the Wind. And then in the second act, it's like right when she's about to make, it was later in life. And what was that movie she made in 92? It was like her last big movie. It was with Warren Beatty and Annette Bening. I don't know.
I don't know, but wow.
But wow. So Kate Mulgrew, love there. Tea at 5, biography of Catherine Janeway. And if you need more audio of Kate Mulgrew, both of her audio biographies, she does the reading of, and it's just, you're just in it. So.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. I am a big Audible. I love audiobooks. So that's like my next, it's 8 hours and 20 minutes. That's like,
it's fabulous.
A dream.
And awesome. The way it's cut, I don't think it's going to contradict anything forward coming about the character, which we'll get into a little bit later. Mm-hmm. Like there's an autobiography of Jean-Luc Picard. It's because of Star Trek Picard, the details of that book are already not working. Like in that book, him and Beverly got married. There's actually a fun mock-up of their wedding invite and things like that. But it's things I would have loved to have seen happen, but it's no longer canon. That book can't be canon. The Janeway book totally fits canon right now, so it's even more enjoyable.
That's great.
There's also autobiographies of James T. Kirk and autobiography of Spock, which of course, obviously, you're not going to go find the awesome. I think the only one that has the awesome audio book is Janeway's, read by Kate Mulgrew. So.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that. I cannot wait. I'm going to download it and listen to it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Actually, I'm having a little dinner party tonight, and I am thinking that might be the ultimate fun thing to put on while I'm cooking. So, because I don't like to turn the TV on when I'm trying to cook because I get distracted. So I need to just put audio on. So, we are so off, but it's all good. It's all good. Favorite Starship, which is a brand new question, listeners, that kind of came up last week with Davey, and I have added it to now our opening questions. What is your favorite Starship design?
So they just redid in Lower Decks. They just redid the Enterprise E. Yeah. So
they just showed the Sovereign class.
Sovereign class. There you go. That one. I love that design, the Sovereign class, because I love it because it's like new, but it's also very nostalgic.
Yeah.
And it's very well, I mean, not really nostalgic. The design holds up. You know what I mean? Like it's not cheesy, it's not dated. It can be very modern, but also look classic. And I love it.
I think, it definitely has some elements that would remind you back of the old Constitution class, with especially the refit, the movie Enterprise, otherwise known. But then, it definitely has elements of the D, and now the F, which we've seen just last week for the first time, which has the design's been around for about 10 years thanks to Star Trek Online, but we've now confirmed that design is canon. I love it. It's a good progression off the Sovereign class. So
for sure. And I just love it. And I love what Lower Decks did, because they copied it to the T. Like it is exactly the same. They did a really good job on that.
Yeah. Lower Decks production, especially after season 1, it really went to another level. It's downright beautiful. The DS9 episode from 2 weeks ago was just gorgeous. If you're watching that on a big screen TV, 4K, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely now like one of my favorite things ever. Like I'll just put an episode on if I'm just like doing housework or something like that, just to have it on, because it's so clever and so funny, and we can get off on that topic later, but I love it.
Good. I do too. And finally, we'll ask our last question before we kind of get into some of the really fun stuff. And you kind of maybe indirectly answered this already, but what does Star Trek mean to you?
So, and I think a lot of people kind of feel the same way about Star Trek. I may be wrong, but like I said before, growing up, the way that I did, and in a more of a conservative environment, being gay, not really knowing what that was, but knowing that you're different, that there's something going on with you, and you have a show that shows all aspects of life, all aspects of humans, and even though it's sci-fi, it has such a real world real world feel to it. So many, I mean, of course, Star Trek has always been known for being a pioneer in social issues and addressing hot topics of the time and all those things. So I think I just really connected with it because of that, and it was a good way for me as a kid to see that being different was okay, and being weird or strange or not being understood was okay. So you could put on an episode of Star Trek and not feel like you're like a little weirdo.
Yeah.
And that there's other people out there that feel the same way you do. Okay. So I think it's always been very important, not just for me, but for everybody around the world, that sees that and appreciates that. So I think it's just a very important part of
it. It really truly is infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and it's okay to be weird. We're all weird. Everyone's a little bit weird, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only people that want to be the same are Republicans.
Yeah, that's really sad.
It is. And where's the fun in that? Oh, I only want to be around people who, act like me, talk like me, look like me, believe what I believe. And it needs to be this, not,
Yeah, exactly. And
go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and that's exactly it. When you see these characters and you just relate to them, you just relate to the crazy blue guy or the guy with the pointy ears, or because they're different. They're
or Quark.
or Quark. Quark.
Yeah. It's funny. And I guess I don't mean a blanket statement about all Republicans, but definitely the far right ones. But I will say I've seen myself in Spock. I've seen myself in Data. I've seen myself in Janeway. I've seen myself in Beverly. It's like you can just relate into some of these characters on so many levels. And I love looking back at episodes that, maybe didn't have relevance to you at one point, and then you went through something and you're like, oh my God, that's so me right now. Or
and that's what I really liked about DS9, because it was such a different format. It wasn't the Starship, the action, all these kind of things. I felt like it was more kind of almost like a soap opera kind of feel to it. It was just that's what I really loved about that, because it almost felt more emotional and more time with each character and more character building. And I really like that, because you could really connect with those characters on a different level.
So I feel like the reason that is, in retrospect, is looking at the fact that they didn't do not being on a ship and being on a station and being stationary, and then kind of building in a lot of these. DS9 had so many characters other than the main cast that were regulars, and in and out of the show. And
Mhm.
those characters, like say like Garrick, for example, really good, queer example. He's like only in 39 episodes of all 7 seasons, right? But first off, it feels like he's in a lot more than that. But then secondly, his interactions with the crew would help us learn more about, like, for example, Bashir. We got a little bit more deeper into the Doctor because of that.
Mhm.
Whereas they used all these other characters to engage our main characters. And that was a different, I think, different way to approach the show. So it
Yeah,
wasn't just
absolutely.
because, with TNG, with great, I love it. And it was, I think, what things that make DS9 so great is that it's different. So we didn't just get the next show that's on a Starship doing exactly what we did on TNG for 7 years. And even Voyager, we made different because we gave it a different premise.
Mhm.
So this was a good way for Star Trek to reinvent itself. And it was
Absolutely.
just amazing. All right. Love it. So we're going to jump back into, I guess we're going to call this part 2 of our New York Comic Con coverage. Part 1, we started into last week by just talking for a good hour and a half about Star Trek Picard. But we'll talk a little bit more about that for sure. And kind of get in some of the other things that we saw last week at New York Comic Con. So Star Trek Discovery, they had a panel at New York Comic Con last week and dropped a roughly 55-second teaser. I will call it just a teaser for season 5. So Justin, what are your thoughts on Star Trek Discovery?
Okay, so I well, okay, I'll make this quick. I loved Discovery when it first started. I thought the premise was cool. The characters were great. I love Michelle Yeoh. Like everything was hitting it all for me, and it was I just loved it. But then this past season kind of happened, and I felt like I don't know what happened, but I felt like everybody got real lazy, and they were jumping on a bandwagon that I feel a lot of people do, and a lot of companies, a lot of shows, a lot of everybody kind of jumps on the hot ticket, hot button item. I have a lot of problems with um, people cashing in on hot button political items. Like I'm gonna get so much hate mail, like the trans issue,
Yeah.
or situation. Like I feel like they, I love that they touched on it in a very Star Trek way. Like you touch on these things and you bring them to light. But I feel like Discovery really, really tried really hard, and
Yeah.
Anthony Rapp needs to just needs to stop a lot of stuff that he's like pull back,
Yeah.
like because
Yeah.
I felt like he just made everything so uncomfortable, and it's not his fault. I mean, it is kind of his fault, but it's also the writers. Like it's just too much. It's too
Yeah.
much.
I know exactly what you mean, and you're the first person to vocalize it to me that way. I have I love Discovery. I'll premise that now. So listeners, hold on and let me get through the
Right.
pot. I love Discovery. I love Sonequa Martin Green. One of the
Yes.
things that I'm liking the least about Discovery is is the gay representation. I feel like it's to my face. It's
Yeah.
I mean, like I get it.
It's
Maybe
forced.
maybe it's not for me because like maybe you don't have to show this to me. I know this is all good and I know this is what life is, but it's great having gay characters on Star Trek, but I feel like it's really being needled in. And, we've got, 3, 4, 5, 6, LGBTQIA plus characters, and it's becoming a distraction for the show in many ways. Like
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I get what you mean. Like it's there, and I think we should just be there. I
Yeah,
don't
and
think
it's
we
also
need to like I love that we're there, and I love that it's there, and I love Anthony Rapp, and I love Wilson Cruz, and Blue DeBarrio, and all the other. I love them, and I like what their characters. I love Adira. I love what Adira's doing.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm getting beat over a stick with it, and
Yeah.
I think that's turning off people because Discovery is not. The one thing I have figured out is that, it's if you talk about the 5 shows that are on right now. Discovery probably is people's least favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally feel that, because that's what I'm feeling right now. And I hate it because the premise is great, the writing is great, the characters are amazing, the uniforms are cool, like visually it's awesome, like it hits all these things that you want Star Trek to hit. But then when you start getting into something like this, in my mind, I'm thinking, why is this an issue? You're part of Starfleet. This is not an issue in this time and in the Federation, or in Starfleet. These are not issues that are there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you bring them to light, you talk about them for a second, and then it's just second nature, because that is what it is.
Yeah.
It's the 24th century.
Exactly. So I think the point of them showing it in their defense, and what I think they're trying to do, I think they're definitely trying to show, have it be a reflection of life, right? And you're trying to show a lot of ways what, Gene Roddenberry did in the 60s with showing a black woman and showing an Asian man or a Russian man, all of these things that were, not so popular, and showing that they didn't. I think the difference is we just saw them and they were just part of the story, right? Whereas this is really, like I said, I think the people that they're hoping that they want to see this, you don't have to convince already. I feel like the people who, if you're watching Star Trek, you're already pretty good on a lot of these topics. So they just need to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this complete narrative. And, I just, like I
you said earlier, they're like beating it into you. They're like beating you over the head with it.
If queer people are feeling like it's too much, then how are the rest of people feeling? So
exactly.
And I'm sure
I want this.
And listeners, like I said, this is just a conversation. You may personally feel that it's not too much and it's just enough, and that's great.
Absolutely. And I want to see this series succeed. Like, I want to see it go on for the 7 seasons that is like now canon. But like, I want that for them, because I love the cast. I love everything about the cast and about the story. So I want it to work. I just want them to stop doing what they're doing.
All right. Well, and maybe they have, because I'll pivot to season 5 here and our 55-second trailer. It does sound like that the show is taking a big turn in season 5, and it's basically going to be a fun adventure. It does sound like, and even just watching the trailer, that it has a little bit of an Indiana Jones feel to it. That there's basically a treasure, and
there's more falling rocks, more flamethrowers.
It is going to be kind of a treasure hunt in season 5. That they're after something, and so I hope that we, I think they have mentioned that it should be lighter and more fun. And so that being said, it might be a good contrast to how heavy season 4 was. Even just, I know when we see these trailers, we are probably in most cases just getting shots from episode 1, maybe episode 2, but it does look like it's a lot of fun. And, we see Tilly's back. We don't know how much Tilly's back, but she's in the trailer. We saw her at the behind the scenes thing on Star Trek Day. It looks like Burnham is out riding the top of the ship at warp. I think that's kind of just like always something crazy going on. But I'm here for it. I think it looks like it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love one thing Discovery has done very well is its special effects and its high production value.
That's one thing that I was really happy about Discovery, what they did, because before any of the new reboots happened, like, I always wanted something that was more in the future. I didn't want more throwbacks. After Enterprise, I was just like, okay, enough with the throwbacks. Like, I want something that's like so far in the future. Like, let's see what that looks like. You know what I mean? But I thought it was really brilliant the way that Discovery had, it was a throwback, but then now they're 10,000 years in the future or whatever, you know? So
Exactly.
I think that was done really brilliantly, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think we're going to see some more of like what's going on in the Federation. I think that's just kind of what I'd like to take a time out and see. Everything on Discovery so far has been like universe changing, epic, galactic barrier, DMAs, like everything we know is about to be destroyed. I mean, almost every season that's been the case. So I'm kind of hoping for some lower stakes and just chill out. I mean, obviously we can have a big baddie. I don't even know that we have a big baddie, but
I don't
I'm
think
just hoping
so.
for some lower stakes. And so one thing we are going to see in the season is some returning characters, and as well as some new characters. Like we are going to see Captain Rayner, who is on the screen here for those watching. He is going to play a Vulcan, but remember in the future, you know, Vulcans and Romulans are kind of coexisting together, and he doesn't seem like your typical Vulcan. In fact, one thing that's been said is that he has some things to learn, and he will learn them and
Mm.
throughout the season. So, looking forward to learning about his character. I believe the president is back, the president of the Federation, who was introduced in season 3, and thought she was going to be in conflict with Burnham, but actually they worked very well together. Why can't I remember her last name right now? But she's the Cardassian Bajoran human hybrid. But I loved her. And then there's also some new characters. Eve Harlow is going to play Maul, and Elias Tofexis, that sounds very Greek, and I probably said it wrong, is going to play La'ak. They're going to be couriers, very much like Book. It was a courier, and even Michael Burnham during that year that she was in the 33rd century without 33rd or 32nd century without Discovery, leading up to the beginning of season 3. So they're supposed to be in conflict with the Discovery crew because I think they're after the same thing that Discovery's after, but
Okay.
they're not necessarily villains. So and I kind of like that. So you know, I'm going to say this: I'm excited about season 5. I think this pivot in direction is welcome, and
Yes.
I'm optimistic about watching season 5 because I do feel, even as myself, it is my least favorite show of the 5, and I love all of them, and I love Discovery, but it's the one I look forward to the least, and I think someone's got to be at the bottom, but
Yeah. And
I'd
it's
rather,
unfortunate that this one is.
yeah, yeah, but this is the show that brought us into the future. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, when I say the future, it brought Star Trek back, and it's important for me. I'd love to see this show do a season 6 and do a season 7, but I think there's a lot riding on this season in some ways, being
Absolutely.
better received. And like I said, just as emo as I can be, I'm very emotional. I love when Star Trek makes me cry.
Uh-huh.
This show is a little too intense at times, so I am looking forward to this lighter, more fun adventure type.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
All right, so there was a good discussion about Discovery. Moving on next, there was a panel on Star Trek Prodigy, which returns actually in about 12 days from the time of recording, maybe more, even less
Ooh.
by the time you're listening to this. Prodigy is back with season 1B, we're calling it. It's the second half of season 1, episodes 11 through 20, and starts airing on the 27th on Paramount Plus. And we got a panel with the cast, including Kate Mulgrew, and we got a new trailer. So, Justin, what are you thinking of Prodigy?
I love Prodigy, and I love it for all the different reasons why I also like Lower Decks. But I love Prodigy because I feel it feels like a series, like a Star Trek series, you know, for being animated. It just has that feeling to me. And then with the direction that it went with, the kids and finding the starship, and you see, all the growth with the kids and all that kind of stuff, which kind of also makes me cringe sometimes because I'm just like, oh, why are you so stupid? Like, but then this part,
but they're
yeah,
kids.
because they're kids. Like, that's what kids would do when egos get in there, and like bratty bullshit gets in there, and it's all these things. So I absolutely love it, and of course, Janeway being the hologram on there is just really, really epic, and I think it was such a brilliant way for them to bring her back, and I love everything about Prodigy. I think it's really well written. I think the animation is superb. It's a very beautiful, like really well written and really well drawn show.
Yeah.
Or animated.
Yeah, episodes 1 through 5. I was in it and I was enjoying it, and I was kind of itching really bad for it to get to Starfleet in some ways, get more Star Trek-y. And then we got to episode 6, which I believe was Kobayashi Maru, and we got all those throwbacks to characters when they were doing that holodeck simulation of the Kobayashi Maru, including the first time we saw Beverly Crusher.
Yes.
Ages, and the first truly canon thing that Gates McFadden had done since Nemesis, actually.
Wow.
So that was a big deal for me, but I was all in at the beginning, but that was from there, the show has only gotten more Trekky. And as we go into season 1B, it promises, with the return now of Admiral Janeway, who we see at the very end of season 1A, we're going to have that alternate, the Dauntless, and we're seeing Ronnie Cox return as Admiral Jellicoe.
Yeah,
we're going to see the Borg. They're telling us we're going to see Klingons and Romulans and all of that. So I'm happy for it to be bringing our much beloved Prodigy characters into that Star Trek that we know and love.
Absolutely.
More. I think I only expect to love it. I love it, but I expect to really love it here. And I'm actually, this is the one thing that kind of sucks about Paramount Plus and the gauntlet of Star Trek shows is I'm almost finding myself saying, finish up Lower Decks so that I can watch Prodigy. But I'm like, but I love Lower Decks. So it's like, slow down and enjoy.
Slow down. Yeah.
We and I need a Prodigy to happen so I can get to Picard season 3. And so
I mean, after the long hiatus that they took and we had no Star Trek for so long, like I'm here for it. Like, and with all these new announcements coming out, there's 3 new shows in the works. Like, I'm here for it for sure.
Yeah. Outrageous Arcana from season 2, TNG making a comeback, who we did see briefly, did not hear in Lower Decks, but we have that. There's teased rumors of other Star Trek characters that we'll see in season 2 and season 1A, 1B, whatever. I'm trying to keep saying that right, but I'm glad that they're also not spoiling too much.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I've seen just enough to re-engage me, know I want to watch this show, and I'm ready to go. But I don't feel like I've got season 2 figured out.
I think with just the prospect of them going back to the Federation, I think is what's really getting people like hooked on watching the next.
We know that it's like the protostar is basically carrying a computer virus, so to speak, that if they make that contact with Starfleet, that virus is going to transfer and destroy the Federation. So that's I think that's going to be our ongoing narrative through season 1B. I think the big key there is that one thing that they did show us in the trailer is that at some point, Gwen gets her memory back that she lost at the end of season 1, or pieces of it. So I hopefully hope that helps put that together, because I hope that it's not, the show has to keep progressing. So this idea that there's a virus in the protostar, that can't be ongoing for the next 30 episodes. It needs
no, it better wrap up in the first 2 episodes.
We need to have that story and then move on to the next thing. And I hope the show eventually leads to, our heroes in Starfleet or Starfleet
Oh,
Academy or something.
oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Or like
That
on a
would,
training ship or something.
yeah,
I mean, that would be really cool. So love for Prodigy. I think almost as big as the discussion that's happening around Prodigy is this ongoing discussion about Kate Mulgrew returning to live action as Janeway. Um, I mean, it's been every time Kate Mulgrew gets a microphone, it seems like the likelihood gets more. And like what I mean by that is
yeah.
it was teased a little bit at STLV when she was on stage. Somebody
Yeah.
asked from the audience at New York Comic Con to Akiva Goldsmith and Kate Mulgrew, um, listeners, I've said this before. I'm a firm believer that Janeway actually shows up in Picard season 3, even if it's just a cameo. I think this is already baked. They keep teasing, like, "Oh, we'll keep talking about it. It's been
Right.
discussed. Nothing's been said." I'm really hoping that they're just yanking our chain, and that the whatever comes after Picard season 3 is some new show that continues our timeline at 2401, 2402, and we continue with characters like Seven and Rafi and Janeway, and maybe and like we said last week, bring back Eleanor, introduce new characters. Like we got the LaForge daughters that we see in the Picard season 3 trailer.
Hmm.
The next generation of the next generation. Give us that show and have Janeway be that matriarch, mentor, admiral that kind of, is the
That would be
Charlie of our
so
Charlie's
good.
Angels.
Right. Oh, wouldn't that be so cool? I could see the the Seven of Nine like spin-off show being something like Firefly, like where it would be very like mercenary Western kind of feel to it. I think that
Yeah.
would be really fun for them.
Yeah. I think, like I said, we talked about this last week a little bit. I would love to see that show that, it's 2402. Whatever happened with Picard season 3 is done. We have a Federation ship. Maybe it's the Type A if it survives season 3 of Picard. Maybe it's the Enterprise F. Maybe it's a completely different ship. But put Captain Seven on it, and let's go seek out strange new worlds and new civilizations, and let's just reset. I think it's a perfect time for kind of that. It's not a reset, but I think we're ready for those TNG episodes again, or that not TNG episode, that TNG format. I think
Yeah.
I think we're ready for that to come back. And in a way, I know we said that we did that a little bit with Strange New Worlds, but Strange New Worlds is very, 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 very hampered in that, you have all these legacy characters that are prequels of themselves, like
Hmm.
Uhura and Chapel and Pike and Kirk now and
Yeah.
whatnot. And so they're very limited in what they can do because of what's already been said in canon. And so as great as Strange New Worlds is, and I just used the word great, the one thing that they have, and I didn't even mention Spock, God, jeez. Great as all that is, they have to, everything that happens with those characters has to be mindful of what's going to come with the original series, the animated series, and the movies, et cetera, et cetera. If we
Yeah.
go to 2402 with the Seven of Nine show set on a new Starfleet ship doing new missions, there's very little they can't do. The only thing that lies way ahead is, of course, whatever happens with Discovery in the 31st century. But
Hmm.
ultimately, it's like kind of a clean slate to go explore the galaxy again. And
And I think that's like what I want, and I think a lot of people want, is something that's present day or a little in the future, enough of the throwbacks. Like, we need something new and hot and fresh that has the original
yeah,
Star Trek feel to it,
yeah,
but is in the modern
right,
age or a little bit more. You know what I mean?
right. And I would like to say where we are for one reason, because it's actually canonically just as many years pretty much since Nemesis, I guess, and where they're at. And in terms of the Berman era, not area, Jesus. I still like being able to pull back from the cast of Voyager or the cast of DS9 if you wanted to have Major Kira, Colonel Kira, show up again the way she did in Lower Decks,
Yeah.
let's go see. Let's go. Let's see that. Or if you wanted to bring back, if Janeway needs to pull in, Ensign Kim, who's probably still an ensign, we can bring in
Forever.
Garrett Long. You know what I mean? And I don't want it to be that every week, but I want it to be available to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would
really,
I think that would be epic.
I don't want a show that's all throwback, but when used properly, when used for the story, I'm all there for it. So
I agree.
All right. And just kind of keeping on going with Prodigy, we've got a new Prodigy video game that just came out yesterday.
This blew my mind. I had no idea. I'm a terrible person, but I'm super excited about this.
So after you're done listening to Janeway's autobiography, you're going to start playing Supernova.
I'm going right over there and I'm going to play it.
Actually, I need to download it myself, but I'm trying to resist. Folks, I've had a lot going on with the network this weekend, and then I'm having a little bit of a dinner party tonight. So the last thing I need is to download a new video game because.
Well, I have been playing the Lower Decks game on my phone.
Yes, I have too.
I have been playing that, so that's been entertaining.
So Star Trek Prodigy Supernova is available on PC, PS4 and 5, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox. So pretty much wherever you like to play your games. So I need to download this, and there's actually a new singing competition game where basically, if you ever played SingStar ABBA, there is a new one back about ABBA called I don't know, and I'm the biggest ABBA fan. So
wow, that's awesome.
So I need to get my, I just in my head sometimes I'm Frida from ABBA, and I'm drunk drinking wine in my living room with ABBA videos on, doing the moves. So
I'm here for that.
There's a little bit more insight. So if you like to sing, you have to come over and we can play SingStar or whatever they call it, ABBA, before we play Supernova.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. All right. Gay. So, one other news, folks, if you've been waiting for Resurgence, Star Trek Resurgence, the new video game that I'm really looking forward to, it has been delayed from the November release that was promised to April, while they really try to get the game right. I do not know if that means that the comic books that were supposed to come out to introduce the game are also delayed, but I look at this as a good thing. You have plenty of time to play Prodigy before Resurgence comes out, so you're not going to have competing games. Some other Star Trek news. I know I mentioned it before, but Star Trek comics are back in a big way. Right now, there are the Star Trek Picard Stargazer comics, which are a prequel to season 3. Issue 2 just came out, and there's one more to come. We're seeing a little bit more what 7 of. I think that is going to help fill in how 7 gets back into Starfleet, where it's going. I'm enjoying that. Star Trek Lower Decks comic book is now, I think issue 2 just came out this week. And then
that's amazing.
Yeah. In fact, I have issue 1 sitting on my coffee table in the other room, and I have not read it yet. So there's just so much Star Trek stuff. And
I know.
And then we have the new Star Trek, the title called Just Start, coming out later this month. It's being said it's canon until it's not canon, but it is basically a post-Nemesis adventure. Cisco comes back from the wormhole, from the prophets, and he has this motley crew of Star Trek all-stars together to go solve an adventure. And as you can see, Beverly Crusher is going to be right there with Cisco. And
I love that. She looks great.
I know. Whoever's drawing this, I'm trying to just buy my comics as digital, but the Beverly fan in me has to go maybe find some of these comics. And there's actually a third alternate cover that is more Beverly than anything. So Beverly and me is here for it. And then there's this new Vulcan. I don't know if he's Vulcan or Romulan, but as a gay guy, I'm like, okay, he looks like he's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's data or lore or how the hell that's going to fit in, but I'm trying not to like know too much about this comic.
Right.
But I'm here for it. And this is not news, but the news that came out from last week is that this comic book will see a spin-off series called Star Trek Defiant, and that will involve Worf and the Defiant. And premise is, in Defiant, someone is killing the gods, but while Benjamin Sisko and the USS Thesis, there we go, have been facing the threats in the higher cosmos, very real casualties are growing on lower ground. The true enemy is man, not a god, and Worf of House Martok has put together his own crew aboard the USS Defiant in hopes of defeating the dangerous messiah behind the genocidal cult. So we see Spock. I think that's lore from what I heard last week.
Probably, yeah.
And Ro Lauren, who apparently did not die in DS9 when the Maquis were wiped out. We'll get that story. And although I think we also felt like we got a little bit of that in that Lower Decks episode of DS9 too. I think there was a little bit said something was said in there that made me. Oh, the Maquis was still around. Is basically what was revealed in that episode. So yeah, so we have Defiant. I think it's a February-March comic book, but that title's also been announced. But I mean, video games, comic books, novels, tie-in novels. Star Trek is alive and well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We have toy lines coming out. In fact, I just got a notification that my Captain Kirk Playmates figure is somewhere 3 stops away from delivery. So I'll be getting. I bought all these Playmates figures a couple weeks ago, but they didn't have Kirk, and so I ordered it on Amazon, and it's been a little hard to get. So
that's so funny.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a Star Trek fan. So
absolutely.
That was the bulk of what I wanted to go through today. So I am going to say stop, and then we're going to go rewind. And Justin wanted to give his thoughts on the Picard season 3 trailer. As Justin, I found out, just finished season 2 of Picard this week. And so now he was ready for the trailer. And so we're going to go hit that trailer just one more time, a little bit more, and get Justin's thoughts on the trailer.
Well, I mean, I am super excited because, like I said, like you said, I just finished season 2 of Picard because I kind of dropped off on Picard a little bit. I don't know why. Had nothing to do with the show at all. It was all me. And then I was bored. And I was like, oh wait, I haven't watched the rest of Picard. So I turned it on. And I watched like 4 episodes like in a row because they were great.
It's more bingeable than it is. The show, I think, it's meant for binging.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I binged 4 episodes of that, and I really love what they did with the end of it, and with the Borg Queen, because the Borg Queen, of course, is so many gay men's like icon. Because for me at least, like in the show, in the movie, that the original Borg Queen was just so epic. And she was such a diva, and she was Alice
Krieg killed that.
Oh my,
Alice Krieg, her portrayal of the Borg Queen was like, she killed it.
Oh my, it just like creepy, and she was just an evil diva, and just absolutely loved it. The Borg Queen now was great. She did a really great job recreating that character, and I was there for it completely. So I love what they did with the last season. But then I watched the trailer for season 3, and I am now super excited because it kind of is doing what I was hoping for throughout the season. It's like, well, you have this grab bag of all these amazing characters, like from Picard's past, why aren't we tapping into this? Why aren't we tapping into this? So I'm very excited because we're bringing back basically everyone on that screen right now.
Yep. The whole main cast is back.
The whole main cast is coming back, and everybody looks amazing.
Yeah.
I was shocked, and LeVar Burton coming back for the first time since Nemesis is very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's really great. And then his actual daughter is going to be in it. She's one of the ensigns, which is very exciting. and Amanda Plummer as the new villain. Oh,
Isn't that perfect?
oh my God. I died when I saw that because she's amazing. She's an amazing actress, and I think she's going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
And it reinvigorated my love for the show, so I'm very happy for it.
I mean, literally, I think this is what every Star Trek fan is talking about incessantly. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it was great to get feedback on podcasts, just the interpretations of that trailer this week. And some of the feedback from our interpretation last week, I've been people like pinging me and DMing me on Twitter and stuff and asking a little bit about it, what are thoughts. And, you know, we talked a little bit more about the trailer on the Hive this morning as well.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's just great. I mean, like it's funny. I'm such a Bev head, and I'm so excited about Beverly's return and the fact that the season's supposed to be primarily centered around Picard, Beverly, and Riker.
Yeah.
But in a sense that I'm excited to see every one of these characters. I want to see what Commodore LaForge is up to, and Deanna looks like in that trailer. She looks so troubled. I'm like, what's going on? No, but I'm like, she's in it, and like Marina Sirtis is just killing it, playing the role.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God,
I haven't been as excited about Troy and Riker because we've already seen them in Star Trek Picard, and we kind of had a check in with them already. So I am definitely more excited about Beverly, Worf, and LaForge, obviously, because we've also seen Brent Spiner like crazy, and we saw Data's end, and but I am definitely here for So Worf's a pacifist. What happened there?
I
What's
died when I
that
saw that.
about?
I was like, and they're beaming out, and freaking Riker's like, "Oh, we're all gonna die."
And I
love
it. That playfulness that they're bringing back. That I love that they're going to keep it light here and there, and show us some of that interaction between this crew that is in part why we love them so much. The banter between them. We saw so much banter, obviously in like the poker scenes and stuff on TNG, right? Where they got to be a little bit more playful with each other, and you got to see that the characters are friends, but we all know that the actors are very close as well. So I love going to be some of that playfulness and redemption for a lot of these characters. I love that we're going to see Beverly have something more meaningful to do than that she didn't get to do in the movies, and Worf, some redemption for Worf. We talked a lot about his toxic masculinity, but if he's moving toward pacifism, it feels like in a way they're addressing that.
Yeah. No, and I think it's great, and justice for Beverly. And I think she was always. I think she was always utilized, but definitely underutilized, especially in the movies. And you want to learn more about her past, her and Picard's past, her and her husband's past with Picard, and all those kind of things that you kind of got touched on, but it was never like really, I don't know. So I'm very excited about that. And I do have to say, like, with Will Riker, I am a huge Will Riker fan. And I don't know if it's because of just like Will Riker, but Jonathan Frakes is just so good at playing that character.
Yeah.
He's just, and in Lower Decks, which we didn't really touch on either, but in Lower Decks, his character in Lower Decks is hysterical, and the fun that he has with it and brings to it, it's hysterical.
Well, we were talking about that a little bit with Jonathan Frakes and now Nana Visitor revisiting their characters on Lower Decks. They both turn their characters up to like a 12. Like they're just, because it's Lower Decks, they are designed to be a little over the top, and the actors have no problem doing that.
No, not at all.
And that's what kind of differentiates it as being Lower Decks and kind of not a spoof, but it's definitely a comedy. And so there's definitely that stretch with the character. We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts to @What'sTheTBev. We would love for you to reach out. We love the interaction. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram @BQN Podcasts. Don't forget all of our other great shows on BQN podcasts like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Union Federation, Infinite Diversity, Mickey's Marbles, and History with the Zalagis. I always get that one on my tongue a little bit. It's always fun having a little bit of a lisp. Sometimes that just things just get in your way. So Justin, thank you very much for joining us this week. You've been a delight, and I'm so glad to have you. And now my San Diego friends. We're going to be hopefully, getting into some watch parties. I mean, if you're not busy Thursday, come over, watch Lower Decks with me. Make a party of it. Order some vegan pizza. And so where can people find you when you're not blowing someone out the airlock?
Well, you can find me all over San Diego doing drag every once in a while, but you can follow me on Instagram at Disco Dollie with an IE and an underscore. Facebook, because I'm over the age of 40. You can find me at Justin Parker. And just out and about around town. I'm always around. And thank you so much for having me. This was like such a delight. I'm always very happy to sit around and talk Star Trek with anyone and everyone. And I could go on and on and on for hours like we have today. So thank you so much. I've had a blast.
Oh, thank you. One thing I was worried about when I started this show was, was it going to feel too repetitive from week to week? And I can tell you, we just finished, we're just wrapping up episode 5 here. And just this format of having somebody new every week and getting to know them, it's different every time. And I love that. And I just love that I'm getting to learn more about, our Star Trek community, and hopefully and through that, our listeners are also getting to know people. And I think that's great, because I feel like by the end of this episode, people know a little bit more about me. They definitely know a lot more about you. And I just, it makes me feel really good about when we put together the format for this show, that I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go, but it really seems to be working. And that just makes me really happy. So,
well, I think you're doing a great thing, and you're definitely filling a hole in the space-time continuum of Star Trek. So thank you for doing what you're doing, because I think it's very important.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, listeners, for listening. And like I said, hang in there, and we'll hope you'll join us next week for more tea on What's the Tea, Bev? That phase is fabulous.